Hello, legends. We're live, my brother.
All right.
I hope you guys can see us. Maybe we come in the light a little bit.
Yeah, this.
It's 5:30 in the morning, almost 5:30. We're heading out.
Yep.
And so we're clipping on and we'll get some clips for you all. Get your K's in. Stay active. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton an hour earlier than normal. We rode into the woodlands. We met some riders at the Aldi on 1488. Then we took Fish Creek, went up over the overpass, took 2854 through Keenan, and rode to Highway 105 in Montgomery. And there we met them at the school. After that, we headed up 149 into the forest with the group. We got some nice clips there on that stretch. And once we got out on TaliaFerro Road, we ended the filming there. We got into Richards. Then we resumed filming on that back highway there towards Apollonia. And we turned that off again. We got to Anderson on the way back, hitting the wall. We filmed the route back into Richards. So I hope you guys will enjoy, guys and ladies, will enjoy the clips that we got for you. Because it was a blustery, breezy day. It was like a front trying to get in, and the Gulf Air was trying to keep them out. So we ended up riding a lot longer than we planned, almost 8 hours. We did almost about 125 miles in about 7 hours and 54 minutes, I believe, something like that. So it was an ultra endurance day. I want to thank Paul and Doug and everybody else that was doing the pulling. Hey legends, 6:24 in the morning. We're picking up a bunch of guys up here. That's Doug right there.
We're on Egypt
I don't know if you guys
Lane
can even see them.
in the woodlands. Doug's on the ride with the flashing light. I've got my headlight on flash mode because you can see pretty well. But everybody's lit up. That's Paul Ilunga in front of me here. I'm going to tell him a little bit that he's on camera because he didn't know that I turned on the camera. We're approaching 1488.
I got you guys on film, my brother. I wanted to film this for the boys.
This is FM
Turn it on right back
1488.
there.
We're meeting at the Aldi across the street. There are a bunch of riders there that are going to ride with us to Montgomery High School. That's where the ride will start.
All right, all you cheap guys, this is a real light. Look at Abby's light on the road. I thought it was a car, man. He came up behind us.
Yeah, this guy, Abby's light is so bright.
You cheap?
I thought it was a car.
You're cheap. Save your life.
I mean, he's got the whole road lit up.
Behind us, I thought it was a car. He lit the road for me. What I want to show you guys is this is what it takes. We got up earlier than normal. We're already in the woodlands. We're going to be riding out. It's a surprise today. We're going out to Anderson, Texas. So
yeah, we're in the parking lot here at the
Aldi. To a
Aldi.
high school in Montgomery to meet some other riders.
The guys are gathered over there.
And so
basically, we're finding a corner to take a health break.
Probably in about 15 minutes or so, I think. Well, let's see, 7:15, I think.
It's a warm 18 Celsius. It ended up being a very breezy day because there's a front trying to come in.
You want to pee?
That's Doug right there with the arrows on.
How you doing,
Doug, and then Tim, and then Bob right here. That's Abby with the chartreuse.
All right, let's go, guys. We're rolling.
There's Paulie Longa coming.
Let's do it. So we can just ease our way.
So it's 6:31. It's about an hour's ride there comfortably. So we just kind of kept it around 32, 33 kilometers an hour, about 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, it was acting up, my brother. The same thing it did to you.
Yeah, I'm talking about the camera.
And all I did was I held the power button.
It was acting glitchy, and I did some research.
I don't know why it's doing that,
and I'm trying to resolve that issue. It has a lot to do with how you format
got a new firmware
SD card.
It's fine now. It's recording right now.
So
I just wanted to get
it doesn't need a firmware update.
And that's it. Pretty much.
But you got to be a little technical if you're doing all this stuff. So it requires a lot of skills to really run a channel.
Don't do too much.
A little
bit.
There's a lot involved in just loading films.
You can't really see too well. Unless you
That's the Rafa's Festive 500 kit. We were fortunate to get a couple of copies at the channel.
We just went to a smaller
I love the little orange band. I'm partial to orange. The camera's I think Paul's trying to get it situated there. That's why it's moving around so much. But you can see how the band on the arm, I love the colors, the blue, the orange, and then the black, and then it's got those lines. So that's our first day taking it out. So I paired it with my Pro Team shorts with the orange logo, and it just worked. And I decided to go with the orange helmet. I'm wearing solid black shoes, and I really like the combination. So yeah, we plan our kits. I mean, Paul and I will talk about, you know, what do you think we should wear this weekend, whatever. What we usually try to do the first weekend out of every month, we try to wear matching kits, whether it's the Veloharmony kit or something else that we've procured together. So that's nothing accidental. So we take a weekend, one weekend out of the month, and we try to make sure we wear matching kits. This weekend is an exception because we're doing this longer, what we call epic ride. We're going to Anderson, Texas. And this is the time of year to really, you know, it's November now. We're trying to build our base.
When we get to the highway,
yeah,
we're wrapping up there until we get to the school.
Okay, cool.
I think that'll be a nice little
So we spend a lot of time on our kits. We spend a lot of time on our fit. You don't just do a fit and forget about it. Basically, you do a fit, and if you change shoes, if you're having little niggling issues on your ride, address them. You know, because things are going to change. As you get fitter, your flexibility might change. Don't ignore what your body is telling you. The main reason I got into fit was because when I was competing, I didn't have the option of really good bike fitters. Everybody was using fit kits back then, and they just wanted you to go with that. No. If you look at my feet, my pedals appear to be like in the middle of my foot, pretty much. My cleats are really far back, and so when you're set up correctly, that's the way you're supposed to look. That's how smooth you're supposed to look. So we're headed towards Fish Creek here, and this is just a piece that we put together to show the journey to the beginning of the ride. So we end up riding almost 2 hours to the ride start. It was perfect for us. I mean, we had to get up earlier, but Paul and I really liked it, so I think we may start doing this as a regular thing, getting a lot of kilometers in early instead of just an hour more, because that way we can get back earlier, you know, unless it's just miserably cold, and we'll wait till the day gets a little warmer. But both Paul and I spend a lot of time on our feet over the years, just tuning every little aspect of it. I mean, I'm very anal. Everything in the ride. I don't like to move my hand. I use my fingers when I shift.
I'm going to turn it off here. You're going to put it away.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah,
Montgomery,
so I put
Texas.
the camera away. This is where we got
This
to
is what it
Montgomery.
takes. Thank you, sir.
We rode about, you can see the duration, an hour 58. We are in Montgomery, Texas.
You say you want to ride your bike? You got to get your butt out of bed. No excuses. So woke up at 4:30. We're here, 7:30. We just started. No excuses.
We're at Montgomery.
You got to get it. You want to ride? You want to do it?
This
Do
is
it.
the meeting start.
Go to
for the
bed
ride.
early. You can record that show.
It's about 50 kilometers north of where we live, northwest.
Lula.
I saw Lula. I was excited to see
Hey,
Lula. It's
man,
good to see Lula out here. Lula's riding better every
we got
week
a rep to protect.
because he's coming out regularly. That's what it takes.
We got to be on time.
So
we don't play.
Mark said,
We don't play. He said
you
right
guys
on
are on
time.
time. I thought we got a rep
we
to
don't
protect.
play. We got a rep to protect.
Got to be on time. So I just did a little circuitous
We're
ride
right on
around
time.
the parking lot to
Doug
film
doing all these long pulls.
the setup here.
Doug pulled
We're
us on
using the
that.
high school's parking lot.
On Fish Creek, Then back, so every time he pulls
Yeah.
out, I said, perfect pull, perfect pace. So the first time I said perfect pace, he pulls off. I told Paul, I said, I didn't mean for him to stop pulling.
I didn't want to spoil it. It was perfect.
Yeah, Doug, what happened is when Doug gets to the front,
What'd you guys do with Bob?
Bob was
he's
going to
asking
Taco
for Bob.
Corner and he's going to go
Bob
back
was not
home.
going to ride
He's
with us.
not
He
riding
went
with
to
us.
Taco Corner.
He
He's
rode
doing
up
something
with us.
different.
He rode up with
But
us, yeah.
Doug usually pulls really hard. So to see him doing something steady, it was sweet.
Maybe he's got stuff going on.
I
There's
was talking
Mike.
about Bob. And so I
Mike
complimented
W.
Doug that he pulls off the
How
front.
you
Then
doing, sir?
when I said it just now, he said, wow, I wanted to
All
keep
right.
it perfect. That's
the
Mike
man.
Weingrind over there. I was happy to see him.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't know
gotta
he was
put
gonna
it. You
come.
gotta put an initial.
So
We
we
got too
had a
many
great
mics.
group here.
I think that's another mic.
Yeah, we talked
And then
about
Tim
it. All
is
the
friends with
mics.
another
I called
Mike.
him
You
Mike
got a couple
W. I
Dougs?
said, yeah,
Yeah.
you got to put the
Two Dougs,
initial.
Yeah.
handful of
In a little bit, Mark
We got
is
quite
going
a
to
bit of
come and
mics.
chat about the route. And we're going to
We got
discuss
we got Bob.
you know.
Bob, yeah, another Bob went over there.
what we're going
We got
to do.
Abby over there. I said, "Where's Abby?" Doug said, "At the back." Abby likes to hang out back there.
To you guys that ride
This is
this
Mark.
route frequently,
Yes, sir.
I need some feedback. I'm thinking about. I'm trying to decide whether it would be better with this wind to go out 149,
It's very windy, guys.
and when we get
You see
just
the
past
clouds?
Richards, as you know, on the way to
There's a
Anderson,
front coming
there's
in to
that
bring
left-hand
cold
turn,
air, and our
20
Gulf
it's a
is
20-something.
resistant.
2819.
blustery.
You're talking about out of Richards?
out of Richards,
Out of Richards, there's a turn where you go 1486, then 2819.
and then you go around. Then it takes you to 1774 into Anderson.
Yes, that
and
is a
then
choice.
You go
Then you
back-
come back up that wall
Yeah,
on 149.
I like that wall.
Yeah. Okay. That's
So
an
there
option.
you already talking
Or
about
just
he
go
likes
straight
the
out
wall.
149.
Cyclists
Nah, I
would
think
be happy to
I
go.
would
You'll see,
suggest,
we
let me throw
filmed the
this
wall.
out. I think it would be more
is-
interesting with this
we're
group
all over
for
that
us
road
to
like
go on Lone
homeless
Star Parkway,
kids
go across
or homeless
149,
people.
1097, the forest, hit 149.
I was suggesting the
Instead of
forest,
just
but then
staying
Mark
on
said we take
149, all
us
those
a little
cars
out of
zooming
the
by.
way.
The forest is
With the
quiet.
wind
The
and
end of it
everything,
is
and the
nicely
hills,
paved. There's a
yeah,
beautiful,
we're gonna be
beautiful
riding
Mount
some nice
Pleasant.
Mount
farms
Pleasant,
and-
yeah.
Hidden Valley, and then 149.
and some chip seal.
My
he's a
only
little
concern about that is
hesitant.
I have to be home by 12:30.
Okay, how long does that make the ride? How many hours can you ride?
As long as I'm in the parking lot by 12:30.
So you,
This parking lot by
by 12:30? Oh yeah, that's not going to
Yeah,
make it
so
longer. That's not going to make it
we have
longer.
plenty
That's
of
your
time for that.
RDBC route. It's not going to make it longer.
You've
It
got
just
to
takes us
plan
further
for
up 149
incidentals.
instead of
somebody ended up
staying
having
on
a
it.
flat on the ride.
Well, it adds.
you know,
We would have to go out 1097 to
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant up through the forest,
it would
and then on
probably
149.
add about 7 miles.
So it
or
adds that little
That's
bit extra.
significant.
I don't-
About 20
you know,
minutes.
let's see, it's 7:30. Yeah, it's not a 4-hour loop. It's not 4 hours.
Okay.
Because we're riding to Anderson, right, and coming
Right,
back. Yeah,
right.
it's not going to be. You'll be back here by
Yeah, the
11:30.
estimate is that we're doing
Yeah.
65
the way I
miles.
figured it out
so
yesterday was
maybe
about
90
65.
something
But I
kilometers.
didn't add in the forest.
So,
and,
no, 100 and something. It was 162 kilometers. So about 110 kilometers.
Fitness crunched.
So
I think
with the hills
that
and
it
the
would be a
wind,
lot more fun using the
Maybe 4
Mount Pleasant
hours
route to get out there
stops.
because the rest of the ride we're just on highways.
I
You know,
was
you think about
suggesting
it,
the
it's pretty
forest
wide
because, like I
open.
said, you
Just
heard
that
me
you get
say,
some tree
I didn't want us to
coverage
just
on
be
the
on
way out
highways
because the rest
all
of it is
the time.
149,
I wanted to do some
2819.
quieter roads.
2819 is
We
the
ended
most
up doing
boring road.
TaliaFerro
We prepared
Road.
for
You
that
guys will like
ride,
that. We
and
filmed
we
that.
rode it a lot. There's
It's a
not a
bit-
whole lot out there.
full of patina, but you'll see how
come
we
home
navigate it.
149
I
to
think you'll
Bethel.
learn a lot from
Okay.
seeing
then
it.
down Bethel.
Should be fun.
So good.
So we threw things around, and that's kind of cool. And you know, it's just general. Once we get out there, we make modifications. So we're trying to get out of the parking lot. Paul told me just start riding because everybody's comfortable. The chatter going on. Nobody wants to leave. So Dave and I are up there. This is Google right here in front of Paul.
Exactly what it is. What? They don't want to leave.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to leave.
man.
I mean, you know, it's like, so I'm up the road with Dave. We got to go. We can talk and ride. It's a social thing, you know. Everybody gets there. We're talking about it. People were talking about the light. I was talking about the light that Abby had. He'd already put his light away because it's a bit heavy. I use on this ride. I was using the Montgomery flare and the Ion RT in the front, and they're like a little ice cube. It's small and it's just as bright when I set it on high or whatever. So That's the flare on the rear that you see blinking. I really like that too. That, the cycle light, so we have enough lights, there's no excuses. There's no reason to not put something on your bike to get the attention. So we check, I make sure it's safe for everybody. There's enough room for everybody to get on the highway. So we're gonna go west here. This is Highway 105 in Montgomery County. Just a little south of downtown. See those little ridges to the right there? They put that there for cars when they're leaving the road. So we stand to the left of that. We're using the lane. We're only going to go maybe less than a kilometer, and then we're going to turn right onto a road called Lone Star Parkway, which is an extension from 2854. They just rename it when you get out here. So our goal when we ride is to find the quietest way to get places, the most scenic. It's not always the most direct, but we're not late for anything. That's the whole idea. So we go through this light and a little bit, there are a couple of cyclists coming back from their ride, it looks like, or maybe they're going to meet somebody. This is a regular meeting area. The high school parking lot is always available. You see Douglas to the right of that, he and Paul. I just stay off the road. We're not going to be here that long, and it's not that busy. You see the mirror on Doug's bike on the handlebars? It caught my attention. I mean, it's been out for a while. I've tried them. I'm actually going to try it again, but I'm going to try a different model than what he had. What I liked about the mirror he has here is that he used it to tell me when to slow down. Because there was a stretch where I was pulling and we were making sure one thing we could do together. And so he would look behind to see when people were struggling on climbing and stuff, and he would tell me to back it off a bit. He would drive behind me. And then he also has that Garmin radar. I think that's what's flashing on his bike. The light has a radar thing that beeps when cars are passing me. And so I noticed that, and I asked him about it on the way back, probably a 6-7 hour mark, and he said, yeah, I'm just trying to increase my safety, which makes sense. So he's got a lot of awareness and things letting you know when the other road users are around. I like the idea of the mirror for several reasons. You don't always have to be looking back. Not everybody can look back comfortably all the time. And another thing is, with that mirror, you can decide when you want to use the road and make it safe, meaning that it's not safe for them to pass, you take up the lane. Or, when it's safe for them to come around, you can go to the right, because you already know they're there without having to look back. And I thought that was kind of cool because the one he has does not appear to have any vibration. I don't care for the ones that people stick on their glasses or on their helmet. Lulo has one on his helmet, and it will work for him. But I just don't ride to where I want to be looking in that direction. The way I ride, you guys see my position. I'm like a greyhound on the bike. So that mirror would work perfectly for me because I'm always in the position for the most part that you see Doug is in right here. Mostly riding the tops of the hoods or whatever, even in the drop. So I already had some of those in my parts there. A different style. They're a little more circular. They're made in Germany. They're not the one that he has appears to be not glass. I got the one that's glass. It's not convex, meaning that you see the actual size in the mirror. This is convex. And so the objects are closer than they appear, I think. Did I get that right? Or further than they appear? I think it's further than they appear. Yeah, I think it's further than they appear. It's kind of like when you have those mirrors on your car, and some people buy the little extra convex mirror and stick it in there on the side mirror. I think it's the other way. It's closer than they appear, yes. The convex mirrors make objects appear further away, but they're actually right on you. So you have to be really up to date on knowing that the car is not that far away if you use the one that does it. I'm sure he's used to that. So for me, I opted to use a model that gives you the actual size, and it's not much bigger than what he had. It's just a different style. It uses an Allen key and it screws into the bar end, and then it has like a wedge that expands. So when you set it up, it is solid. That's what you need. If vibration would drive you crazy, you won't be able to use the mirror. I spent the time talking about it because I think that is fabulous for those of us who ride solo a lot. I think it's really neat to have it. Plus in a group, you keep your eye on the people following you. And that's what caught my attention. That's how he used it. I said, okay, you're going a little hard on this note, just back off. Now we just downshift. Keep the same cadence, but I would drop the power. And he used it so well that I didn't have to look around to see if everybody was there. And I decided, man, I'm always riding by myself. So on Sunday's ride, I thought about it, and I stuck it in there. It worked really well because what I found myself doing, and that's the cool thing about having an open mind. After all this time cycling, I found myself using the mirror to just really use the road when it's clear. Because a lot of times you're riding and you're not looking behind, you end up sitting on the edge of the road anyway, even though nothing's coming. So using that mirror, I was enjoying what I call the sweet spot. See where Doug is? That's the sweet spot on the right there. Where the right tire, actually where Mark is, that's the sweet spot. I ended up using that on Sunday a lot more because I rode by myself. And I caught up to Christian and them on the way back. But I ended up using where Mark is most of the ride. And if you can ride like that, especially on the roads we ride, your chances of puncture diminishes so much. Because it's always clean in that position. And so I will be using it. So I did some searches on, got some really different styles that are very neat. And I really like what's out there, so I'm trying different things, and I may do a review on the channel. We'll see if there's any interest. But I've got it on the Colnago's bars, and I've got it on the Lighthouse, and I will thoroughly test them out. You don't spend your whole time looking at it when you're riding, but when you need to see what's coming, you just glance at it. It's perfect, and it's in the right spot. You've got to angle it right, though, so you're not looking at your knee. So I got the kind that has a little ball that it pivots on, so you can adjust it just like you would the rearview mirror in your car. And I set it up exactly the same as my car, because in my car, when I'm looking out my rearview mirror, I don't need to look behind. I don't need to turn my head. I have the mirrors angled to where I don't see my car in the mirror. Because a lot of people set it up to where they have to lean forward to see their blind spot. No, I have it on my blind spot. I did the same thing with that mirror to where you glance at it, you can just see the whole lane. It really works. You just make sure you get the kind that does not vibrate when you put it in there. They have some that you just squeeze in there with the plug and it's not secured to the bars of the shape. This is Highway 149. And we, by consensus, decided to turn left here. We have options here. We could have gone across and gone through the forest that way, but Mark said it would put too many.
So listen from you. What sections do you think we should film? I want us to film the most interesting pieces of it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm thinking?
I'm suggesting to Paul that we think about where we're actually going to film.
Truck, guys.
And so we decide to kind of kill the camera here because we always film down here. We've done a lot of films in Montgomery, and I decided that, man, we're going to Anderson. Let's film some of those back roads. So, it's just general stuff. And he made really good decisions on where we're going to film. So you'll see.
This is interesting enough.
Yeah, it is, but we've filmed here so many times.
Exactly.
So what Paul and I are talking about is that we always film this area. We've done so many shots through here. Let's save the clips for later. And then we get on 149 further up the road, and it just gets very interesting, and Paul turns on the camera. The funny thing is I'm up front, and he's here probably mid-pack. But it was like, in my mind, I was like, man, we're missing out because we're really moving. But I guess we're just on the same page because I was going to I got to tell him to turn it on because we had thought about holding off until we got close to Richards. But he turned it on here. We're in the forest on 149 North, going towards, I think,
I think we've already passed Hidden Forest Road, but we're going towards Richards, Texas here, and I believe Dave is pulling. I think Dave is pulling. I'm sitting on Dave's wheel, and that's Lulu behind me. There's Doug in the light blue, and this is Mike W. There's a dog barking. Whenever the dogs bark, I like to mess with them, but I didn't say anything. We're riding kind of hard here. So I'm in zone 3 here. This road is very deceptive. It's up and down. If you look at the grade up there, you will see between 1 to 3%. And don't focus so much on the fact that it's 1 to 3%. It's the gearing we're using here that makes the difference. Kind of like you guys in Belgium when you're riding in your rolling terrain. They may not be very steep, but if you're in a 53-17 or 53-16 and you come to a 3% rise, you feel that. And that's kind of what we're doing out here. That's Bart behind Paul there. I don't think Bart wanted to be on camera. Paul turned the camera around. Bart looked away. We like to come through here because it has a nice wide shoulder. Very few cars pass you, although their speeds are higher. And we're always out here. This is like a cycling mecca in the area because you can ride for lots of kilometers without intersections. So you can get a great workout out here. They actually hold the Ironman. There's a local Ironman that comes to our area. It starts in the Woodlands. This is part of their course. And where we're going to Anderson, that's part of their course as well. It's up and down. It's tough. You're working. Mike doesn't like where he's sitting. You saw him raise up and move over. Mike has several different bikes. I think this is the one that does. I don't know if it. I believe it doesn't have a clip on. It may, but so this entire time I'm up there. Look at my cadence is very high, and I'm thinking, man, we could be filming, and I was not aware that Paul was already filming, so it was cool that we're on the same page. So we talk about stuff in general, but it's almost like, okay, whatever moves your fancy. If you think this would be a good thing to bring to the channel, do it. So that's the same thing with the route. You heard us talking about it, but nothing was set in stone. So once we got out here, you'll see in about probably 10 kilometers, Mark will change the course. Because we never talked about doing TaliaFerro, but he got out here, he saw how we were moving on this highway. He's like, it'd be nice to, because that road is not the smoothest, but it's very challenging. It has some nice bumps, if you know what I mean. I'm up there. I'm in second position. I'm keeping my cadence up, and the reason I'm doing it now, it just feels good. I had mentioned on the channel, somebody asked what I could recommend a power meter under the last group ride from last week, and I had to be myself. I'm not gonna make up anything. I told him I really couldn't recommend a power meter because the power meter I'm using now works fine. Almost hour 8 in the ride, pretty much at the end of the ride, Paul and I are heading home. It just stopped working. Couldn't figure out why. Well, I didn't know what to do. There's no lights, nothing, but throughout the ride it worked great. So when I got back, I sent an email to the support guys because that's what it says on their site. You have that. It wasn't in the documentation how to do a hard reset. Well, they have very good support. Every time I call, I get somebody on the phone. So this is Monday morning, and I made a call before I started this narration. And I get the guy after 2 rings. I'm like, wow, okay. And he tells me, oh yeah, you need to hold it for 12 seconds. It's almost like you have to reboot, like rebooting a computer. He said that sometimes the code just freaks out, just like when you have a laptop with a problem. And you kind of have to reset everything and then it stabilizes. So I didn't lose any settings or anything. And it was just, 30 seconds on the phone with the guy. While he's on the phone, boom, the light comes on. because the entire weekend after the ride, it was like a paperweight. It was dead. There was no response to anything. So I just made a note of how to do the hard reset. And so I will update the response I gave the guy and recommend this power pod. Main reason is when it does have issues, the support is awesome. But when it works, it is consistent. That's all you can ask from a power meter. There is no accurate or inaccurate power meter. You're looking for consistency. As long as it's giving you the same numbers when you do that same thing, you can train to that. It doesn't matter, as DC Rainmaker said, it doesn't matter if they're using gerbils to come up with the power numbers. As long as it's consistent. I'm putting the metrics there so you can see. I get to the front, I'm keeping it moderate. I'm not looking at power numbers when I'm riding. I see heart rate because it's on there, and power is on there too, but for the most part, I'm keeping the tempo by feel because that's just how I ride. I look at these numbers more when I'm doing the clips or when I'm in Golden Cheetah software doing my analysis. Why do I do that? The analysis lets me know, am I training too hard, too much? Am I not recovering? How's my resting heart rate? All that kind of stuff. That's what I use that for. Because you want to make sure that you're not just riding yourself into the ground to where you end up just feeling blah and overtrained. So training is one part, then rest is another. And so I will be updating that guy, the response I gave him, and recommend the power pod because they stand behind their product. And so I just made a note of what to do next time. But he said it doesn't happen that frequently, but every now and then some riders get that. So the power meter had to work today because with the wind and these hills, it was all over the place. So who knows? And it was my second time contacting them for a couple of things, and each time I get somebody on the phone. I had already sent an email, but I had not gotten a response. So when I called and we solved it, about 30 minutes after the conversation, someone else responded to the email with the same instructions that the guy on the phone had given me. Well, the problem had already been solved. And the thing is working. I did not lose any of my settings when I went into their software. So you can see what I'm trying to do is keep the same effort as much as possible because we got a long day here. It's 3 hours into an 8-hour day. And that's how my buddy rides. We get into TaliaFerro Road. Mike Weingrad starts hammering like we're sprinting. And so Paul just used that opportunity. He drifted to the back. You will see that happen. He drifted to the back of the pack. Let everybody come around him. While they're doing that, he gets to take a break. And then we switch to another part of the ride from that point. But you got to use your head. You got to focus on what you're doing because not everybody goes the entire distance. Remember, we rode 2 hours to meet these guys. So these guys drove further to start their ride. Well, we've already been riding almost 3 hours. This is 1375. That's that chip seal highway. It takes you to New Waverly, Texas. There's an area out here called Navasota, and what's his name? Abby kept talking about it because he's been riding a lot of kilometers. And I mean, he's in the Veloharmony Club on Strava. He did like 800 kilometers or something by Saturday or whatever. I'm like, sheesh, that's a lot of Ks. You have to find what works for you. Don't just do what someone else is doing. I don't need 800 kilometers a week to do well in cycling. But if I have more time and it's something that's, cycling is enjoyable, as long as it's fun, more power to the people that are doing it. So that's great. Abby's retired, so he's using more of his time to do the sport that he loves. I think that's really cool. That's what it's about. I err on the side of having more time versus more stuff. That's why those of you who have been on the channel for a while, that's why you see I've got the same bikes all these years. Not that I couldn't go out and charge it and get something else, but then, that's more things to worry about. So no, I'm keeping it simple so I can have more time to cycle, hang out with my family,
watch cartoons when I'm recovering. You know, whatever it is you're into, time is more important than stuff. Just keep that in mind. That's the mirror I'm talking about. I like how it's just unobtrusive. Doug used it well in this ride. I think I must be still up there or something. I stayed there for a while. I think I'm going to be pulling off soon. We're coming. There's a church on the right. I don't like to pull off on the hill. So I once we went over that little bump, I'm going to pull off so Lulu can take over. That's why the pace is changing. I've moved over to the right because the wind is blowing from the right. I do my best to pull off into the wind and continue to give them shelter as they go by. I'm by the edge of the pavement just to give everybody a lot of room. And if the wind was coming from the other side, I would have pulled out into the road, but I would have, of course, checked for traffic first. So when you're riding with your mates, always pull off into the direction of the wind because you continue to shield them as they come through. Unless it's unsafe to do so. You know, you got a bunch of cars coming and you just got to get off the front. You know, then you do what you have to do. You pull off to the safe side, even if it's not the windward side. The road's going up again. Just look at the grade, 4%. It doesn't look it, but we feel it. I'm probably in a 53.19, something like that. And I'm just estimating based on the cadence I was carrying and the speed. I can tell by the cadence and the speed what gearing I'm possibly using. Look at the temperature, 20 Celsius. That's about 69 degrees, and it's a warm 69. It's a breezy 69. The entire day we couldn't find the draft. The wind was like in a funnel swirling around, and then it took about 24 hours before the cold front won. So Sunday morning we woke up to like almost, well, I wouldn't call it tornadic activity, but a simulated tornadic activity in that all our pine needles and leaves were just all over the road. This is where Mark comes up and changes the route. That's what I was talking about. For the better. So we're getting off this highway and we're going to go on a road where we can use more of the road. This is 1719. Bethel Road is on the left, and this highway, if you stayed on it, would take you to Huntsville, Texas. We've been out here. Paul and I hang out here a lot. We like coming out here. It's quiet. It's a bit of a chip seal, but it's not that bad. We're not on it very long. Maybe 2 kilometers, 2-3 kilometers. I'm behind Paul here because I took a poll, remember? And I went to the back of the group. I didn't go all the way to the back. I was in front of a couple of riders, but I was like in the last third of the group. And once we turn over, this road is quieter. It's always quiet. You know, the cars that come by, you know, they're booking it. But when they're not around, you have the road to yourself for a long time. So I ride up. So Mark tells me, you know, that we're going to do TaliaFerro because we had not discussed it. I just gave him a thumbs up. I know that these roads out here, when you make a turn, you have 1 or 2 options when you're out here. So it's clear. Based on where we're headed to Anderson. By turning here, I know exactly how we're going to get there. Yeah, that's the name of the road coming up. TaliaFerro Road.
Oh no, I'm glad you did. I was thinking about it.
This is what we're talking about. Paul said, man, I had to film. I thought, I'm glad you did because I was worried we were missing out. So I'm glad he did. I thought I'd say, you read my mind. It's not often that you meet somebody where you just click. You know, like Paul will be talking about something and sometimes I finish the sentence for him. We just, you know, we just mesh very well together. I've known him since 2016, and it seems like I've known him for like 20 years. I'm sure you guys know people like that. You just meet somebody, you guys just hit it off. So we think alike, and we were always trying to adapt. And so it was great. I said I was worried about, I was going to come back and tell you to start filming, and he was already filming. So he got some nice clips here because we would have missed out. This is nice. The group's moving, we're working.
I'm right at sweet spot right now. So I had to work a bit to move up through the group. So your balance on the bike is critical. I did a remote fit this week on the internet with some guy, and he's in New Jersey, one of our legends. And he came on the channel, and what he said was, I asked him, I said, why did you decide to sign up for the remote fit? I always ask people why they do things. And then he said, well, you were doing a ride and you took off. You're like, it's time to go. I'm gone. You know, it was one of the rides with Team RR where they were messing around in the parking lot, and we just took off. He said, that's kind of how I am. So now here it is. He watches the group ride and decides to sign up for a remote fit because he said that you came across as no nonsense. And I kind of laughed. It was a different, I'd never gotten a reply like that as to why somebody signed up for something. So I laughed about it, but I thought that's just me. I only got a limited amount of time. I got a lot of other stuff I want to do. Look at my feet. You can tell that my pedals are almost in the middle of my feet. Look at that. You can see the pedals. If your pedals are on your toes, they will go to sleep. You need to make sure your cleats placed properly. So now we turn on the TaliaFerro now. Right here, I felt like I was pedaling in sand. All of a sudden, it just felt hard. I'm like, wait a minute, we're not going that hard. Yeah, I mean, look at my heart rate, 148. My legs were protesting. I couldn't figure out why. I'm sure you guys have been there. You know, I mean, I've ridden hard to where, you grit your teeth and you hang on. But it was like, man, I reached for water to make sure, because, you don't want to be low on fluids, and it's a warm morning. You're going to see me standing often. I'm trying to get my legs to cooperate because they just feel dead right here. You can't tell by looking at me. But that's what I'm dealing with right now. If the bike felt like my brakes were rubbing, I was saying, but I know better. You'll see me look down. I'm looking at my brake pads. I'm looking to see what's making this bike feel slow. I'm sure you guys have been there, guys and girls. And then I will tell you when it started feeling better. This whole stretch right here, I'm just like, what's going on? Then Doug starts to take pictures. I'm like, he's taking pictures, and I feel like I'm pedaling in mud. That's the Montgomery flare on the back of my bike. I put it in a mode which I think is really cool for the group. It's very subtle. There's a bit of pulsing going on. It doesn't do it justice from this angle, but from further back, it's a wider beam. I like the form factor. It's like the size of an ice cube. Those of you who have ice cube trays, like back in the day, we used to put Kool-Aid in the trays and put it in the refrigerator and make Kool-Aid ice cubes. That's the best way I can describe it. I love the size and everything of it. So right here, my legs start feeling better. The road flattens out. I don't know what it was. I think maybe I had done, if you remember back there on that highway, I had done a long pull. Then I had ridden from the back to the front. I don't know, maybe I just did too much there. My legs were protesting. But you have to learn to grit your teeth sometimes and ride through it. So right here, it started feeling like themselves. So yeah, if you push too hard, sometimes your legs need more time to recover. And maybe I didn't have enough recovery after that pull. But you never know how you're going to feel from one moment to the next during a ride or from day to day. You see, I'm using my hips there to dodge those imperfections in the road. You're going to see me do a lot of standing and warn the people behind me when there are imperfections coming up. There's a lot of patches here where they patch the entire side. That's what I'm doing right here. Almost like you would do for railroad tracks. They patch across the road and it's not smooth right there. There's worse ones coming up. Now I have to accelerate back up. These guys just seem to be going harder and harder through here. We're riding hard through here. This is not a flat road. And they're doing almost 40 kilometers an hour. Doug's at the front pouring it on. So we're riding hard. In a little bit, Paul will think that somebody spat on him because it hit me too, but it was like Mike Weingrad is sweating because it's a warm morning. Even though it's 69 degrees Fahrenheit, see, this is another patch. Goes across the entire stretch of the road. Look at that. And you stand to save your wheels. When I got home, I checked my wheels. Perfect. Not a millimeter out of true. There's another one. You stand up, take the bump. Look for the smoothest path. Take the weight off the bike. The bike will bounce under you, so that it does not affect your spokes or anything. I'm running 90, 95 as usual, so the supple. I've got the Continental tubulars on this bike, and I have just fallen in love with them. And I know Victoria tubulars are awesome as well. So between those two, yeah. What I like about the Continental tubulars is they use butyl tubes, probably the light race ones. Watch me go through here without pedaling, and I pass Mark. Look, that's taking the right line. And I just let it slow down so I can get behind him. I'm not wasting any energy. I just didn't want to hit the brakes. So the line you take and everything makes a difference. The road goes up. You can see me pulling back my pedaling. Doug pulls off. Right there. Paul said somebody spit on me. I said no. It's Weingrad. The wind is blowing. Look at my bandana. You don't hear it because we got it dubbed, but the wind is blowing, and so Mike is sweating, the guy in the white, and it just sprayed. And so everybody saw I moved to the right a little bit. It's not that bad. You just get dropped. And throughout the ride, we got droplets of rain because it was threatening to rain. We had thunder showers in certain areas. See, that's another bump. You don't take those seated. You tear up your wheels too much. Stand up. It's more fun. Let the bike bounce under you. Stand up, you pedal. Right here, he's going harder. Watch. I ride up, and Paul's going to be like, you guys wasting all this energy. So he's going to just keep his pace, and people will come around him. Yeah, I don't know why Mike was riding so hard here. This road it goes up to the left there. TaliaFerro Road. Paul and I come through here a lot. We don't ride it at this pace. We're usually chatting. We use these roads to conversate because there's no cars to deal with that often. But here we're riding hard. We're going into the wind, up a climb. It gets to like 3%. There you go, 3%. And Mike is pouring it all like he's going for the city limit sprint. And I told you my legs were feeling heavy back there. Well, I just keep riding through it. They're feeling heavy here, but I don't care. Got to be able to suffer. So this is where Paul lets everybody come around. He's like, okay, I'm going to just not follow this crazy guy because Weingrad drove to that place. He ain't riding as far as we are. So in a little while, we're going to switch to one of the back highways because at this point, we're outside of Richards here. We're going to come on Bailey Grove. Not Bailey Grove, Base Chapel Road is up the hill there. So you see how Paul used this opportunity to let these guys come around. He kept his effort low, and by the time he got to the back of the group, we were almost done with the climb.
Well, that's just we're in far north Montgomery County. The wind is out here. It's crazy.
Look at the sky. It's buffeting us. So at this point here, this is probably Group C. I decided to stay back here with Bart. Bart is behind Paul. Paul was pulling with Bart, and we're on this lonely highway. Look at the chip seal. I edited here for time.
This is the pace we're gonna do.
And I told him, I said, we're gonna hold this pace. They're just maybe 15, 20 seconds up the road. What those guys were doing is they would ride hard, then sit up. Every time the road would go up, they would sit up. I'm much trying to hold a consistent pace, or I call keeping the force on the pedal. When you're training Zone 2, you don't want to do any coasting where possible, only for safety. I may make a video about it, but you want to make sure you keep the pressure on the pedal the whole time. That's how you get fit. It's kind of like doing an indoor trainer workout. You don't want to coast. So you maximize the time. Look at that sky. Is that beautiful or what? Look at that. Just lovely. The reason I'm on the tops is most of this area, up and down, flat to rolling, it just feels comfortable when we're going up and down. I just put my hand on the tops or the hoods, and you know, I can use every. See, I move to the side. I use every position. It's raining. I don't know if you can see the rain. There's droplets. Nothing heavy, but there's droplets of rain. This is why you can't train to speed. We're doing 23 kilometers an hour, but we're doing slightly less effort than we did on TaliaFerro Road. And you hear me, I don't know if I've already told Bart, because he was like, oh, you know, I can pull. I told him, no, you just sit there. I can do this all week. Something like that. There's no point in you pulling and then you get dropped. You can see the rain. Those little white specks, that's raindrops. We're on 2562, FM 2562 going south towards 2819. 2819 will take us to 1774. Look at that corner there. Right there, the road curves. That's why I put the arrow there. It curves, and that curve is a grade. There's these dogs on the right there. They were waiting for us. They're in their yard. They didn't have anywhere to run. They're just sitting there. So here we're climbing, and it doesn't matter what the grade is. Find the gear and work it. I like the gradual grades because, as I've said before, when you get above 15% or whatever, it is just labor, basically. And then this road, because the wind is coming from the south right now, then we got chip seal. Then it's going up. See, it says 3%. Look at the grade, 4%. I mean, that's what we're working against. And the wind is. I told you we got chip seal, wind, hill. Jeez. But look at my rhythm. I've got a rhythm. That's all I care about. And you will see me do this again when we leave Anderson. It's very steep. People are coming around, doing different things. I just hold my rhythm. That's what you want to do when you're riding in tough terrain. Find the rhythm that you can hold forever. Don't disturb, or how you call it, like those of you who do a lot of driving, don't unbalance the car. You know what I mean? Get a rhythm, stay with it until the effort is over. Because later in the effort, then you can decide to edge it up if you choose to. I think we're coming to 2819, and we're gonna go west. We're gonna turn right. That will take us to 1774.
This is 2819, my brother.
Yeah.
All right.
We have problems getting the camera to turn on when we got to 1774 because I really wanted to film the wall that goes into Anderson. But there's a problem with the SD card, so I'm working on sorting that out. So we turn right here. And I think we discontinue shooting.
What do you think? Anderson, Texas. Legends.
We're leaving
We're heading
Anderson
back.
here. We got the camera working
Local
again.
Post office here. FM 149.
So we're going east.
You remember this road, my brother? This is our old hunting ground.
We used to come out here to train for the RDBC Grand Fondo a few years ago.
Richards.
We're heading towards 149 on the outskirts of Richards, Texas. Richards sits atop of a hill out here. There's not much to the town. We stopped at the Shell gas station.
Forming around my foot.
Yeah.
And we got drinks and everything. And so now some people are sneaking away. They're already up the road.
These guys just ride off.
Yeah, they just took off before everybody was ready to leave. So I told them I'm not chasing anybody.
There's our wall.
We're turning right here on 149. These roads are busy. They go from 55 miles an hour to like 70 miles an hour, but
He's way up there.
low volume.
Snuck away.
This is 45. We're in the city limits. You will see the wall. These guys snuck away because they just wanted to get to the hill and ride it at their pace, I suspect, anyway. But they just took off before everybody was ready, so I was like, okay, we're just going to do our own thing here. Doug is behind us. I got the camera low. I'm trying to find an angle because I'm about to descend. If you look at the speeds, they're picking up, and I'm not pedaling. Look at that road. Is that beautiful or what? The camera does not do the hill justice. They never do. I'm not pedaling, and I'm almost, what? I hit 48 kilometers an hour back there. I think that's Dan, Mike. I don't know who the other rider is that's up the road.
That's the one that tricks you. You think it's flat and they just
this
kick
one
you.
right here. It's like, see, it's already 3%.
Dan away. He wants to ride that comfortably.
Dan wants to ride at his pace. Grade is 4. It's gonna not look. Grade is 5. It's gonna just keep kicking up.
5.5.
Look at this thing, and it goes for a bit, all the way. It's just
yeah.
up. So I basically put it in like I have a 36 on there. I think I put it in a 36.21 or something like that.
That's Mike.
Oh, this is Mike. Okay, so Dan is up the road.
Rhythm.
Mike's pushing a big gear. I mean, he can only do that for a little bit.
It dropped back to 4, 5.
So it's between 4 to 7.5%. So Mike W's up the road. The other Mike is behind Paul. Paul's going to hold his own pace. Everybody's just riding. That's what you want to do. We're all over this highway because this is a wall. We're just riding 6%. I mean, it's more than that. It's like 7.5%, 8% in certain stretches.
Size dropping.
And it continues. So when it's long, you want to get a pace that you can sustain. Because if you blow on a hill, you might as well be standing still.
There's another one in the distance.
So we finished this one. Now look in the distance. Is that beautiful? Walk all the way up to the tree line. I stayed where I am because I wanted to film people ahead of us, people behind us, and kind of get you all to get a feel for how you really want to ride, even in a Grand Fondo or whatever. Find your pace. Find a group that's going the way you want to go. This is this beautiful country out here. Hills galore. And this is not the Texas hill country, so to speak. Closer to Austin, they got some monster climbs out there. And we have another area called Chapel Hill. That would be something to do. It's they got 8+% climbs out there. You do a 3-hour loop over there, you feel like you've ridden 7. And it's quiet. There's no industry. And the only thing, there's no store, so you got to carry your own stuff because everything's at the start of the ride. There's nothing on the course. And I guess that's why it's quiet. Look at this. So we go down a little bit, then it's going to kick back up again. And after that, it settles and it becomes regular rollers. This is the wall that we've already climbed the wall, and then we got the second one. So if you did not save it, you would crawl over here. So Mike comes around. I'm just holding my pace here. I'm just riding. It's hard to keep your effort down on climbs, so you have to really be disciplined. I'm basically staying in zone 2. The power zone I'm in right now is like zone 2. 2 to 3, but yeah, heart rate same 2. So it looks like. So if you're going to train with power, you got to know your zones as well and decide what you want to train. I prefer training with the heart rate because I like to know how my heart correlates to how my body feels. So right here is just a comfortable pace. I'm not working very hard. I love this jersey, and we really got fortunate to get a couple of copies because they were sold out. But membership has its privileges. Being an RCC member, you get dibs on stuff. Look at that sky. A sky like this means stuff swirling around. Wind galore. Just winds everywhere. It's just beautiful. Just it was warm. This 23C, it's like, it feels warmer than that. It feels more like 28C. 23C is about 75 degrees almost. 74, thereabouts. But it felt like 80.
7.4.
I said 7.4 thinking Paul was on my wheel. Paul let me go. And Lula said, what are you talking about? I said,
I was giving him the grade.
I said, I thought it was Paul. Well, Paul and I ride. That's what we do. 7.4. And we used to ride with a guy named Frankie that would come by for our rides. And every time we do that, he's like, come on, knock it off. He hated to hear the grade numbers. Yeah, Lulo shifted to the big chain ring and he didn't give it time to connect. And that's what you heard. So he basically couldn't pedal because the chain was sliding. It wasn't on the teeth. You gotta really make sure your shifting is tuned when you're gonna ride varying terrain like this. You'll be able to go from the big to the small without dropping your chain. Make sure that everything's adjusted properly. So when that happened to him, I backed off a bit just to give him room. And when that happens, if it's not engaged, don't put any force on it. Just use your shifter and get it in place. I've got a strap on the camera that I put around my arm, and that's what I'm taking off and rolling up. That's what you see there. All of this while riding at 30 kilometers an hour. The road has leveled off a bit. I am holding the bars because it's very windy, so I'm not doing this hands free. My left hand that's holding the camera is on the bars to keep stability near the stem. That's where you have your most control when you're doing one-handed stuff. So once I get that wire, the strap pulled away, I ride up to Lulo. In a little while, we will see that the guys who are ahead, one of them had a flat. I try to minimize any editing here because that's the way we film. I want you to see exactly what occurred.
Slowing.
So Mark says slowing because he sees them on the opposite side of the highway. I'm not sure why they're there. I don't know if they were going back. I guess, there's a spot for them to stand. That's why. So Dave has a tire in his hand, the wheel. They're looking at the wheel. So I go ahead and I do a U-turn. I look back.
Not sure how you got a flat on a beautiful road like this. There's not a whole lot of crap out here, but it can happen anywhere. County Road 222.
So near County Road 222 is coming up there, up ahead. I turn around, and I think I turned the camera off. Right here, I didn't stop. When I turned around, I saw Paulie Longa, Dave, and I think it was Lulo. I'm not sure. There were three guys.
Up to these guys. And
they passed me while I was heading back to the guy who had the flat. And I decided, man, these guys drove to that parking lot. They're gonna drive in town. We got a lot of ground to cover. I don't have time to stand on the side of the road. They didn't look like they were actively trying to fix the flat. They were looking at the wheel and just messing around. So I turned back around, and now I got to chase these guys because they're already down the road. So you're going to see my effort increase because I give it the stick because I want to get there quickly. So I'm over 300 and some watts. And I ride up to them. It's a lot easier to catch a group on the climb because the draft is not that significant. And so by the time we hit this bump, I'm right there. So it was hard. I went hard and I just quickly to make it quick. And then once I get there, I breathe a sigh of relief. We thank our supporters and our channel members and our patrons. You make it possible. Appreciate your support and allowing us to keep the equipment updated, the filming, the software, all of that. Thank you so much. Robert Tangler,
Come on, Bart.
Dennis
you didn't see that?
Spores, all you guys that support the channel. So there's a bump that they had called out, and the guy in the back,
He was
Bart,
looking at
still
something
hit it.
else.
I thought you didn't see
You
that.
want to film my brother?
I asked Paul, what's the feel? He's like, no. He shook his head. He's like, nope.
Okay.
Paul was not at his best today necessarily.
That guy had a
He
flat.
seemed a little tired. So he's like, I don't want to film.
Flat on this nice road.
But that's Paul. Paul's not at his best, but he still rides. So it's like, that's the way. You know, you're not gonna be 100% all the time. All you can try to do is get your training laid out to where you're consistent. That's all you can hope for. We've all been there, done that. That's why when you go to races or rides or grand fundos, everybody's nervous before the start, but then once the event is underway or when it's over, everybody's more relaxed because now they know, you know, how things have gone. This is the stretch of road where Doug used his mirror after I start to pull, and he used the mirror to keep his eye on the guys following us, Bart and Paul, to make sure that we weren't pushing too hard, and that way we could just, because we got like 3 hours left in our ride, easily, yeah, maybe 3.5, because we're riding back to the woodlands. And right here, we're outside of Richards, Texas. You see how my hand is relaxed over there? And look at the brake hoods. You have to place things to suit your anatomy. The human body is not symmetrical. The bicycle is. Make the bicycle fit you. Because if you don't, then you have numbness and different things in your hands. And many things can cause that. So you try to eliminate all of that by placing things naturally where your body wants them to be. Your wrist should be straight, not bent. I'm staying a little to the left because the wind's blowing from the right now anyway. It changes all the time. On this ride, it was just all over the place. There was no perfect draft today. You had to work. And then with the hills, yeah. So needless to say, we were tired. We did 204 kilometers on this day. I mean, we normally do 160, so that was 40 kilometers more than we normally do. So we're ramping it up. We're gonna build some serious base here. This is a good shot here. I was trying different things with the camera. That's why we like to keep the camera loose. At this time in the day, it's clearing a little bit, but it's just even breezier than it was earlier. We're on Highway 149 headed south towards Richards, Texas. This part of it is mostly east, but it's kind of southeast. It's got northeast up there, but it's nowhere. We're not headed north. We're headed more easterly than north. We're in the northeasterly corner of Richards, Texas. it goes up here. So this road is up and down. You come out here and you're tired, you're gonna be here for a long time. There's a guy pulling a bunch of bales of hay. That's why you hear he's waiting till we get over this rise because he can't accelerate. There he goes. He couldn't pass us on the hill safely, so he waited. He made a very good decision. See how Doug looks like he's not really going fast? Look at the speed. We're doing about 23, 24 miles an hour in rolling terrain into the wind. And he looks like he's pedaling in slow motion because his bike fits him. You don't have to be fighting your bicycle. Look at the trees. I mean, this is a major highway going through trees. It's beautiful out here. So you don't come on a road like this to ride two abreast and chat. This is a secondary road, but it's fairly busy. The cars that are coming, they're moving. This is not a neighborhood road where you can be chatting. So you got to be ready to work when you're out here. And that's why we come out here. We want to ride uninterrupted. And you get that out here. Look at that sky. Beautiful. I got that from Bruce Almighty. There's a roadkill, a big raccoon. There's a big raccoon. There's another one. There's two of them in a row. These are nocturnal animals. Raccoons are armadillos. They hang out at night. So the wind continues to pound us. And in a little bit, I'm going to roll to the front and take us into Richard's Taxis. Look at that road, just beautiful. We use the road here because the shoulder is so chippy. The chip and seal, a lot of little rocks. And whereas this surface, look how smooth that black asphalt is where the tires have worn this smooth groove. There's a lot of debris on the right, so we're using the road here. And as I said earlier, this is not a road for chatting. You gotta work. This is a good shot here. There's Bart behind Paul back there. So the four of us are working together. It is such a rush being able to transport yourself under your own power. The bicycle is truly an amazing invention. The road goes up here by 3%. They creep up on you, so you really have to be in tune with your gearing as you ride. In a little bit, I'm going to roll through and give Doug a break. He's been pulling for quite some time. So he looks back. His speed is dropping. So I don't know if he motions that he's done. Don't remember. We're about 5 or 6 kilometers outside of Richards. Right here, Bart is off the pace. I think Paul stays with him, but Doug told me that they were off, so we backed up a bit. I go ahead and move to the front.
He can't see, that's why he's not passing.
There's a car behind us. I get on the shoulder to give him more room temporarily because the road is going up here. I want him to go ahead and pass. And when he does, then we go back on the road. So I don't know what you all did on Saturday, but this is a part of what we did on Saturday. It was a truly epic ride. I slept like a baby on Saturday night. So get out there, keep your body moving, and keep those doctors fired. Get your K's in.